You're listening to Three's a Crowd, the North East Footy podcast, with Rye for Borough, Steve for Newcastle United, and Ted for Sunderland.
Aha! Can't look for you, Steve.
Morning, lads.
Good morning. A slightly nippy northeast there, Steve, is it?
Jesus Christ. It's blizzards.
Oh.
I'm back in the northeast. The place is in an absolute awash with white snow, mate, and it is lying on the ground. We are going to get it cleared, I think, with a bit of a rainstorm today, but yeah, what a time to be in the northeast. I wish I was Cyprus would do because it's a bit closer, but Australia, 27 degrees today, right? Unbelievable.
Top of 32, mate. I'm sorry to tell you, I'm shocked, lads. Tomorrow, I've just looked at the weather. It's 33 degrees tomorrow.
It's too warm.
So
it's too warm.
It's terrible. It's terrible. I'm going to be nicely tanned, home and away style, carrying the pod with the good looks like normal.
You ginger, you don't tan. Don't you go from blue to white?
Lads, I dug out the Premier League jersey today. I got the old Borough because this is where we're going back. Mwah. Hey, I went through the old garage.
I wonder what the smell of mothballs was.
Hey, we're coming back.
Are you really though?
I don't know why I keep freezing, by the way. It's annoying me.
It's because it's snowing in Newcastle.
Yeah, probably.
So if you haven't guessed it, it's my show today, lads. I've got a couple of little bits of fun stuff to talk about. Some newsworthy stuff, but obviously 3 big games again this weekend. They're always big games, of course they are. We're also going to talk a little bit about grassroots football as well, lads. I know we touched on it last week. With quite a lot of teams actually facing pretty much bankruptcy and a bit of a bleak outlook, shall we say. So, yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about grassroots and a little idea I've had, lads. So, yes, it's always dangerous when Ted starts thinking after a couple of beers and a brandy. But, there's sometimes the good ideas. Sometimes. Only sometimes. We're going to talk music as well, lads, believe it or not. It's not all going to be football today, but we're going to keep it relevant. And it's nothing to do with James Arthur because he's crap. Just before you even start, right? So yeah, well, this weekend, Stevie, I mean, you've got to wait a little bit. The Monday night football for you, but Rye, a trip to Oxford, which would be nice for an Australian and a Borough fan because that's the nearest you'll ever get to the university, isn't it?
I studied Oxford, mate. I'm a rocket scientist, so you guys just didn't know this. What I do is that when I come on here, I lower my knowledge set base. I mean,
we lower our expectations.
Yeah, off to Oxford. It's going to be interesting. I was talking to the boys on the 12th Man podcast this week. It's a stadium with only three sets of seats. So one half of the stadium's the car park, and then there's 3 stadiums that go around it. So it's the 3 stadiums, 3 sets of seating that goes around it. So it's quite a weird ground to see. Look, we're not sure. Obviously, the weather in England is pretty bad at the moment, and Oxford, unfortunately, aren't the richest of clubs, and whether they've got the appropriate heating and all that under their grass and can get all the snow off and stuff like that, there's always a chance it might not go ahead. But yeah, look, first time going to Oxford for the Borough after an international break. Look, we got 2 missing boys in Hayden Hackney, confirmed by Michael Carrick in the presser yesterday. Hayden Hackney and Aidan Morris. Aidan Morris has actually stayed in America. He won't be flying back till Monday, but Hayden Hackney just got back from the under-21s, and we'll see how he pulls up. But yeah, look, it's going to be a bit of a makeshift squad coming off the international break. But look, I still think we've got the squad, and we should have the squad to do it down at Oxford. But not an easy place to go. Not an easy place to go, and it's quite a tight-knit ground from what I hear. But I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, it's you kind of touched on it a little bit there. I guess the fear for you because Middlesbrough in such good form going into the international break. Is there a little bit of fear there that form is now disrupted a little bit? And like you say, a couple of key injuries there, which obviously we'll come to that on the Sunderland perspective as well, because we've got some absolute howler ones coming up.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, the disruption there, is there a fear from you that you've kind of got to find your stride again?
Yeah, there certainly is, and it's always the classic thing with Borough, isn't it? We've had such a sort of slow-ish hip stop, start to the season where there's games we should have won that we haven't, and there's games we probably shouldn't have won that we have, sort of thing. And it's one of those things where it's classic Borough doing the Borough, isn't it? But look, I think the biggest thing for me was that just before this international break, we honestly, those two games, it felt like it clicked. It just felt like Michael's just found that squad and found the right people in the right spots and the right, passing to get it up to Tommy Conway and the like. But, again, unfortunately, it's not going to be the same squad as we had now against Luton and QPR without Aidan Morris, without Hayden Hackney, Tommy Conway, who's just represented Scotland midweek, Ben Doak, who's represented Scotland midweek as well. Riley McGree, who flew from Middlesbrough to Melbourne to Bahrain back to Middlesbrough to play to go on a train or fly down to Oxford, whatever the Borough squad have done. So, look, it's always tough coming off an international break. We've got a lot of international players, so Michael hasn't had the core squad to train with for 2 weeks. So, what type of Borough rocks up is going to be, it's the question on everyone's lips. You know what I mean? I think we've still got the mentality and the squad and the skill set to do it, especially against Oxford. But these grounds, these tight grounds you've never been to, you don't know what the atmosphere is going to be like. One half's, going to be blowing a gale through the car park as well. So there's not going to be sheltered or anything like that. So who knows what Borough's going to rock up. I hope I hope Michael's, got the lads prepared, and those that are there and ready to start, which he'll know, he's probably, got his head around it this week, is going to have to be ready to go. And because this is what counts, Teddy boy, for us in the championship. It's December, mate. It's December and kind of January that makes or breaks you. Because this is such a tight-knit run of games. I think there's like 15 games or something, between now and January, sort of thing. Like, it's crazy of how many games this, we're fitting in the space of a month or something, and then into January as well, mate. So I think come this time in 2 months' time, you and I will both be sitting here knowing exactly where we're at for this season.
Yeah. I just love how that camera froze on your face.
I know. I just got
probably the most intelligent you've ever looked.
I pull weird faces and it pauses at the wrong time. I hope not.
It's like a cancelled version of Robert De Niro. It was weird. Obviously, the big thing is going to be kind of the middle of the park, because, like you've already said, with Hackney gone and Morris gone as well, that leaves a little bit of a weakness in the spine of the team, essentially. And against these teams like Oxford, when you're going away to them, that's where you need to be organised from and sort of have a strong middle of the team, a strong spine of the team. So who's he going to go for, in your opinion? Who's he going to plump for in the middle of the park? Because what have you got left?
Yeah, well, I think Johnny Howson and Dan Barlaser come in. I mean, it's the straightforward swaps, isn't it? Johnny Howson at the age 36 in probably his last year of football, you would think. Dan Barlaser, who came on the other week and scored a goal in Aiden, substituting on, he's had a bit part to play. He's probably been sitting there on the sideline going, there's no way I'm getting around Aidan Morris or Hayden Hackney anytime soon. So now it's his chance. You know what I mean? And you hope that you've got the squad just like you with Romain Mundell and the likes. I'm sure you'll cover that soon. You hope, Watson and that take their chances, because that's what we're hoping now. But for us, it's not so much youngsters taking their chances. Johnny Howson, the 36-year-old veteran who knows what he's doing, and Dan Barlaser, who's 28, 29. So we're actually going kind of opposite. We're leaning towards older
with experience,
rather than waiting for youngsters to hopefully take their grasp. We have got young Law McCabe, 18, 19-year-old midfielder who plays in that position as well. I'd say he'd be on the bench, but yeah, it's got to be Johnny Howson, the captain, club captain, and Dan Barlaser for me. They deserve the chance. They've come on and played bit parts this season, and they're definitely getting the nod for Aidan Morris and Hayden Hackney. But how can you replace Aidan Morris the way he's been? I mean, he's set the championship a lot.
Excellent. There's no two ways about it. I think he's been an absolute revelation. A great find, him. Looks like he can probably go on and do it in the Premier League as well. He's got that sort of that ability about him. You can tell by certain players that no matter what side you put them in, they're going to be able to do it. Very, very good player. Right, I was thinking about you as I was having my breakfast.
Okay.
Nothing creepy.
That's weird. I was thinking about you eating my dinner.
Okay. That's slightly more creepy. But,
okay.
Steve, I was thinking about you as well, because there was 2 cheeky chappy Geordies on there as well.
Yeah.
I was watching a bit of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
Yes.
Yeah. And looking to see, what Colleen Rooney's getting up to, or probably she needs to be worried about what Wayne's getting up to with the grandmothers of Plymouth. But
Allegedly.
Thank you, Steve. Good luck finding a lawyer in Cyprus. Very well pointed out, Steve. Well, yeah, so I was giving some thought about it, because obviously we've had a few footballers in the past actually gone into the jungle and done, reasonably well, obviously. But I was wondering, out of any footballer out there, and this is to both you lads, and obviously everybody watching, which footballer would you absolutely love to spend some time in the jungle with? We'll go with Steve first.
Oh, that's an interesting one, because I thought you were going to say which footballer would you like to see in the jungle. So my mindset was thinking more towards that. But who would you actually like to spend time
as
with?
a campmate, as in not like not like.
And while he's thinking about it, we are available, us 3, if you want us for the next I'm a Celebrity or I'm a Podcast, Get Me Out of Here, whatever you need.
To be honest, like the stuff they're eating, I've eaten worse out of a kebab van.
It's a great question. I mean, I would, if time wasn't a limit, then I would definitely want to go back into the 50s and our wonderful 1950s FA Cup winning team, 51, 52, 55. That, it would have to be Jackie Milburn. I met him as a kid, but I guess Jackie Milburn or Joe Harvey would be the 2 that I wowould like to spend a bit of time with. I'm very privileged in the work that I've done over the years to have got to know some of the other legends who played after that. The likes of Super Mac, of course, and Mickey Quinn and Alan Shearer, people who I call friends these days. Whereas I never got a chance to do that with those older guys, and they'd have some stories to tell about those wonderful days when Newcastle actually had a trophy cabinet and could put stuff in it. So I think for me, that would be it. That's my answer. Jackie Milburn or Joe Harvey.
Very good. I like that. See, me personally, I'd probably go Kevin Ball, first of all, because you need somebody, if you're going to be in the jungle, Steve, you need somebody who's going to, secure some stars and get some food in for you, and they haven't got to be afraid of anything. So I think Kevin Ball would definitely have to be a feature there. Plus, great crack when you see his stories and some of the after dinner stuff as well. He's absolutely got some great tales. If there was any, I suppose on the flip side of this as well, have a think about this, Steve. Rye will come to you on it as well. Somebody who you would definitely not like to spend time with in the jungle, and I'm afraid it would be Michael Owen. I think he would bore me into doing something violent. I couldn't spend time with Michael Owen. He'd absolutely do me head in. But Rye, footballers who you'd spend time with in the jungle, in your jungle.
Footballers I'd like to spend my time in the jungle. Well, obviously it'd be
in a
non-creepy
way, not to give them massage and things like that.
No creepy. Okay, no creepy. I take you 2 out then. You both played football in your time. I'd love to spend time in the jungle with you 2. Look, who would I like? Probably. I mean, I'm just trying to think. Who's a? Oh gosh. I mean, I'd have to go. Mark Schwarzer, he's my hero. Do you know what I mean? He's so just to meet him, do you know what I mean? And just talk to him about, because he's the one that got me into football, the one that got me into following the sport and all that sort of stuff. So I'd have to say him. And then probably Riley McGree.
Yeah. Well, he's your bestie anyway, though, isn't he?
He is. Yeah, he asked me out for coffee the other day. No, look, honestly, on a mate level, I think just hanging out with Riley. I just think because we hung out a little bit in Sydney, and it was just like chatting to a good friend of mine, sort of thing. So I think he would just be great company, and he's nothing phases him. I was talking to him about flying to Bahrain, to Melbourne, back to Middlesbrough, and he's just like, it's all in a week's work, sort of thing. He's just so nonchalant and just chill about it that. I just think he'd be the ultimate campmate because it just nothing would phase him, I think.
Somebody that digital raging, as it's just mentioned, Brian Clough to go in the jungle with. I don't know whether that's in who you'd want to go in with or who you definitely not want to go in with, but I think he'd probably fall into both camps for that.
Who I think we should though take, Eddie boy, if you and me, Mogger.
Yeah.
Imagine
Yeah,
Melga. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I know he's ill. I wouldn't take it because he's illness.
In as well, wouldn't
Yeah,
he?
exactly. You know what I mean?
Sneak a bag of rebels down his
And
trunks.
he's best mates with Steve from the train. Do you know what I mean?
That's true.
So we've already got the relationship there.
We'd have loads of Steve Reid stories.
We can talk about Steve because he met him on the train. Do you know what I mean? We've got the relationship with the two clubs here. I mean, Mogga. I mean, Mogga's got to be the ultimate choice.
Do you think us three would, like, if we went into the jungle together, right?
Yeah.
How long before one of us absolutely lost it with the other two?
Wouldn't take long with Rye.
An hour.
Yeah.
You'd had enough of me after an hour. That's why the podcast goes for an hour.
See, no, I'm gonna call BS on that because I think it would be the other way. I think your army instincts would kick in, and I think me and Steve would actually annoy you. I think not taking, setting up camp and setting up a fire and all that sort of thing. I think if me and Steve were prattling about, I think we'd actually annoy you.
Oh, I don't know about that. I reckon I'd rub Steve's head for good luck and you'd be out. And then, you
wouldn't find me because the amount of eating that you do on this show, you'd turn to cannibalism. You'd be trying to eat me and Ted.
Honestly, I wouldn't doubt it. Wouldn't doubt it at all. Just wake up and find him gnawing on your foot.
I eat all the good food now because I know what it was like when I was out bush, bloody in the army, mate. So honestly, but no, I think I'd be, I'm loud. I can be a probably over exuberant.
I didn't know that.
No, me neither. Back to footy anyway. Keep the suggestions coming in. I love that. George Best, yeah, definitely sneak a couple of drinks in for you, wouldn't he? Absolutely. I would love to spend time. The stories he must have had must be absolutely brilliant. Gary B saying, Ted, good call. Has the personality of an amoeba? Yes, I'm sure that's a reference to Michael Owen, that one, without a doubt.
Andy Carroll, Steve? Andy Carroll?
No.
I don't know what that noise was, but it wasn't a happy sound. Getting back to the football momentarily. Yeah, keep those suggestions coming in. We'll love that. We'll love all that. Steve, Monday night football for you, mate. Now, to be fair, it's a really good opportunity to stick another 3 points on the board and chase down that leading pack. Obviously, last time out, it feels like forever ago since you actually had a game, which you were there for. But looking at the fixtures, it's a nice one, isn't it? It's a really appetising one, and under the lights, West Ham kind of a bit hitty-missy this season. Good opportunity. What can possibly go wrong, mate?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I did the Amigos last night, and I mean the lads were all going 3-0 and 4-0. I went for a rather more reserved 2-1. Our team hasn't scored a lot of goals, and there will be a game this season, undoubtedly, where everything clicks and Newcastle give a team a good old-fashioned shellacking, which, it does happen. So maybe Monday night is the night, but I don't know. It is a potential banana skin. The international breaks come just at the wrong time, I think, for Newcastle. We just found our momentum. But let's really hope that, from a Newcastle perspective, that we can continue the run. Got a good little run of fixtures with the exception of the Liverpool game to try and build that momentum and continue that momentum and get back into European contention and stay there, cement a position there going into the new year. Positive news on the injury side of things for Newcastle. That we've heard a lot from Sven Botman this week about his recovery. Still don't expect to see him until January, but that's a massive positive and may change Newcastle's direction in the transfer window if he comes back, the player that he was. Callum Wilson, of course, who, has had, well-publicised injury issues, throughout his career at Newcastle, is on the verge of a comeback. He could feature on Monday night, which is great. But Eddie Howe was playing very cautious at the press conference yesterday, basically saying that, we'll be cautious, but he is expected to play some kind of, minutes against West Ham, which is great. Kieran Trippier is also back in training, but looks like Monday night's game might just come a little bit too early for him, but there's no rush with him either. There will be a change to the team that beat Forest, of course, with Dan Burn now serving a one-match ban after accumulating 5 bookings. So that means that it would be very surprising if we didn't just bring one centre-half in for another. And we've also got a couple of people hitting 200 games in all competitions for the club. We've got Fabian Shaw. He'll be hitting that record if he starts on Monday night. And Tino Livramento will hit 50 games, league and cup outings for Newcastle United. As for Isaac, his scoring run continued in the internationals. He did score in the first game. The second game, he had a goal controversially ruled out by VAR, and he missed a penalty, but he's still firing on all cylinders for club and country. He'll be looking to score for the fourth successive Premier League game, which will be the fifth in all competitions, which will be a first for him as a Newcastle United player. The last player, of course, to score in more than 4 consecutive Premier League games was Joe Willock. Scored 7 in 7 games in 2021. As for West Ham, they seem to have most of their players available. Fulkrug's still out. Areola's returned to the squad. And on the road this season, West Ham, they've won at Crystal Palace, but drawn at Fulham and Brentford, and lost at Liverpool, Spurs and Forest. So not great on the road. Newcastle will be looking to probably capitalise on that. The downside for me, Craig Pawson's referee, not the greatest ref, but their name is a good ref in the Premier League at the minute. Not many around.
Ask Jurgen Klopp, he's got a favourite.
He has, definitely. But it's a game Newcastle United should be winning. But let's hope that they've got their heads screwed on, they're focused, and they can turn this into a positive and crack on, because we've got some great fixtures to look forward to. Newcastle really could hit the ground running, but we've seen it once, we've seen it a million times. If you let your standards drop in the Premier League, you get punished. So win against West Ham at home. If we can go away to Crystal Palace the following Saturday and get 3 points, sets us up nicely for Liverpool at home the first week in December.
The thing is with Liverpool as well, I mean, looking at the Premier League table, which I don't do a lot, because obviously
you're not in it.
Had a little bit of envy. Yeah, exactly. I did have a look at it. Now, I'm kind of thinking, having watched Liverpool a couple of times this season, I feel like that first place is flattering them a little bit. I know I'm not a lover of Liverpool in any way, shape, or form, but I just feel like it's a bit more open, the Premier League, than what it looks like right now. I don't think Liverpool is setting the world alight in any way, shape, or form. I think it's more of a case of everyone else beneath that is kind of just slipping up here and there. The Arsenals are slipping up. They don't look as consistent as what they did last season. Man City nowhere near as consistent as what they normally are. I was very surprised that Pep signed a contract extension as well, to be honest, considering they might be playing League 2 football, allegedly, if the solicitors have anything to do with it. So it's, you put a run of results together here, Steve. That prediction you had of Champions League places is looking very, very much on, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'd put a daft quid bet on Newcastle winning the treble this year. 500 to 1 I got for that. And the treble is still on because we're still in the Carabao Cup. It's tongue in cheek, and I've chucked a quid away. But
sound like you had a few trebles, Steve.
It will be typical of Newcastle not to win a domestic trophy since 1955, and then to go and win 3 in the same season. But do I think that's going to happen? Yeah, probably not. But yeah, it still feels like a year. This from the start of the season, with no European football, this really did feel like the chance that Newcastle would win something. I do feel that this is the season we'll win something, and I still feel like that. And the Carabao Cup draw for the quarterfinals has been generous to us. I do think there is a possibility that we could go on and win that cup this year. But, that's good, because it means we've got hope back as fans. We didn't have hope, for 14 years under Ashley. As for the league position, yeah, you're right. It's been a very, very interesting league. There's no middle of the table. There's a top and a bottom. And, you win 3 games, you can find yourself chasing the Champions League. You lose 3 games, you can find yourself hovering above the relegation position. So it's because the teams who you would consider, that middle tier teams have now got their act together. And if anybody lets their standards drop, I said it before, you can be beaten. And, we saw it. Newcastle went to Fulham, had a happy hunting ground for Newcastle, didn't play to the best of their standards and got beat 3-1. And that's what happens in football these days. Man City are finding out the hard way. as well this season. That, you know, you can't say it's because they haven't got Rodri and they haven't got De Bruyne. They've got a whole host of internationals in that squad. You've got to give credit sometimes to those teams that play them. You know, teams are setting up differently, setting up that they've had enough time to study Man City and how they do things. And you know, there's more and more people involved behind the scenes, being able to pick apart people's tactics. And yeah, it's making for a more interesting Premier League, that's for certain. People are saying to me, Liverpool are the favourites and they're going to win it and blah, blah, blah. You know, don't write Man City off. Write them off at your peril. Second half of the season, 20-odd game run where they win every game and they win the Premier League. They've done it for the last few years. So don't write them off at your peril. But it's interesting. It's a fascinating season. Don't write Arsenal off. You know, Arsenal haven't chucked it in.
It was my prediction from the start of the season that Arsenal would win it like that. I still think they'll come good.
I think it's still a four-horse. I still think it's a four-horse race. You know, people might laugh, but Newcastle 100% could still be in that race if they can find the momentum. They don't have the European football to worry about, and they can not, you know, steer clear of injuries and find that momentum. Who should say Newcastle won't make a run for the title? You know, look at Leicester. Leicester did it. Newcastle could do it as well. You never know. You never know. That's the beauty of this Premier League at the minute.
Well, you touched on it there, and and Rye mentioned it earlier as well. Rye had a very serious look on his face there. Do you think it was like a takeaway menu or something like that? Were you looking at? You look like you're really concentrating there, mate. Is everything all right? Yeah.
He's just written War and Peace in the private chat. But...
Dear me. God, not just thought he talked a lot.
That's what I was just writing a big essay to you, because I've missed you.
I'll not reply to it, Rye, but what I will say is if you want to wear a dress on this podcast, go for it, mate.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank you. I'm just glad I got your both of your backing.
It's great that we're going to have an internal meeting live in front of everybody just about what we're going to do with, like, because what everybody wants to hear is about our marketing ideas. You know?
I'm just surprised it wasn't a menu. I'm just surprised.
He's had all week. He's had all week to say this in the WhatsApp group, but he
decides. And I've just thought of it now. I know. I'm bad. I'm bad. Working. You know, I sit there and I look at you both. And look into your glorious faces, and I go, geez, we should sell this more. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you know, we've got the faces for, you know.
Well,
wow.
Funnily enough,
look at that as it freezes on.
I'm going to change tack here because you've kind of created a neat little segue for me to go into another subject. And I had an idea, and I think I mentioned this idea to you lads earlier on in the week, which is when you're supposed to do it right.
Yep, my bad.
We mentioned, obviously, it was West Allotment who we mentioned last week, Steve, who are going through really, really troubling times in terms of being able to keep going, finding funds and that sort of thing. I've had an idea, lads. I'm going to sound this idea. After I've just slated Rye for doing it, I'm going to do the very same thing I've just slated them for. So, you know, faces for radio, Grim. Yeah, we tried that.
Yeah.
So, my idea, I was thinking, you lads especially are very big on the socials. I'm just kind of getting to grips with this whole thing now. I was thinking let's get a Sunday League side. You know, somebody, maybe they can send us a bit of a sob story or whatever, if they want to send us a message via the socials. I want one from Sunderland, I want one from Newcastle, and I want one from Middlesbrough area, right? Yep. The idea is we go out there, set up GoFundMes to buy them a new home kit for next season. All right. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because on that kit, I would like, this is the dream, I would love to have Three's a Crowd podcast as the sponsor on a shirt, as a shirt sponsor. I've even thought, to keep everybody happy so there's no crying about the shirt colours, is you have black and red stripes with red shorts. Because at least we'll represent Newcastle, we'll represent Sunderland, we'll represent Borough. I even thought of that much. So
it's a good idea. It's a good idea.
Thoughts? What you think? Right? I don't know. This is sort of a thing that you've done much of in the past, in terms of. I know you're a charitable bloke, like you, but yeah, thoughts.
I love it. I would love to help out Sunday League teams. I think it was last week's show where we were talking about the cost running a football team in this day and age, for those that do Sunday leagues. But it doesn't stop there. It goes right down to the under 12s Redcast story I was talking to you about as well. So if we can, use our collectively beautiful faces and heads and put them together
as it
freezes, us three heads on a shirt. I mean, who wouldn't want to score goals with these faces on? Look, I think we could definitely put something together.
Putting our faces on it.
Oh, yeah, we're going to put our faces on it.
Maybe we can get some sort of like South Park style silhouette,
like we're cuddling us three. Do you know what I mean? Like like this sort of thing. We're just the power of technology. But no, honestly, I think it's a great idea. I think I would love to come together and use, social media at its finest. I think Steve and I have seen our fair share of negative social media. I think we all have seen in the past couple of weeks, months, years of what negative social media can do. Let's do it for some good. Let's turn it into raising some funds for some teams that really do need it in our three areas. Look, if we can help out anyway, please get in touch with any three of us on the social media via email or whatever it is. We'll try and help out. And we'll try and set up something so we can raise something.
What do you reckon, Steve? I mean, as a man who's managed Sunday League and obviously been there and known the cost and known how difficult it is for these teams to survive, and obviously, the story you brought to us last week as well. Is it a goer? And of course, the three of us have all got to get a shirt each as well. That's got to be part of the deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just open it up. I think you just open it up to football clubs in general. I mean, I get lots of people message me, during the season asking if we can help with strips and stuff like that. But there's so many of them, and usually the younger teams, not Sunday teams. Sunday teams are dying a death. I mean, I see it. I live in the UK, and it doesn't matter whether I'm up in Newcastle or down in London or whatever. The parks aren't full anymore with Sunday League players, sadly. And it's that's a reflection on the Premier League and what that's done. Different kickoff times and stuff like that. It's killed the Sunday League games, unfortunately. And rising costs of hiring a park and stuff like that. Councils have got no money, so basically they just can't afford to run a Sunday team anymore unless they have a sponsor. So it's not the same. The Gated and District League had 3 divisions, doesn't exist anymore. And that was one of the biggest Sunday leagues, went for years. But yeah, look, I think maybe it's opening it up to just to clubs. If there's anybody out there who does have a club, and maybe just focus on one, maybe just do one for the first season rather than trying to do 3, which is a bit of it's a
I'm ambitious, Steve.
It's a commendable idea. I think if you aimed for 1 for next season and picked out the one that's got puts the best case forward, yeah, I think so. Yeah, and it doesn't matter whether they're Newcastle, Sunderland, or Middlesbrough. It's the one that needs it the most, the one that's got the best idea. And I've done things like that before. And yeah, I'll be up for doing it. So
it'd be nice. It's kind of like almost like adopting a club, isn't it? It's it'd be quite nice for us to do that, and give a couple of updates. Obviously, we'll go through Newcastle, Borough, and Sunderland as well, and give a little little non-league update on how they're doing as well. Right. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll get something up and running with that before Christmas.
I like it.
Obviously, the lads and lasses who watch this show as well, your input is valued as much as ours. It's your show at the end of the day. So any ideas you have or clubs that you can recommend, then get in touch with us as well. As I say, all the socials are there. You know us by now. I just thought it feels nice to do something nice for a change,
Of course it does.
Giving back. There we go. Give it back. Yes, injuries. Straight back into the negative stuff.
Well, we need to get our cat out.
We do need to get the cat out. Yes, go on, Steve. Let the pussy run free.
Troll of the week. There's been some good ones, and I wanted to highlight some positive ones as well. We did get sent this one, and it was Aaron Connolly is a class act, a simple yet incredibly meaningful gesture for this Sunderland fan going through a tough time. And you sent me this, Ted, didn't you? It was literally nothing I want from life, no enjoy. I just pass and waste of time week by week, making everything worse. Sunderland are keeping my head above water lately, but not sure how much longer I can hang on. And Aaron Connolly inboxed the kid. And basically just offered him an opportunity to go to a game, didn't he?
Yeah. It's an absolute sterling gesture, and Aaron Connolly's had very, very public troubles of his own, and for him to actually step up and make that fans' day, and not make a public thing about it. He hasn't done it publicly. He's actually messaged the lad direct, and the lad's been blown away by it. And for me, that's just such a class act, and somebody who we're very, very proud to have in our squad. And I can't wait to see the lad start banging goals in for fun as well, to keep his head up as well.
Brilliant stuff. Well done to Lewis Hall making his England debut. And I did like this one. Billy Armstrong sent us this. There is Lewis Hall, of course, making his England debut on the right. And there he is as a young lad on the left with his England shirt on.
My goodness.
Aye, well done, Bonnie lad. Fantastic. Great stuff. Really, really good. I did like this. You've seen get sent a few of these.
What is going on there?
Quite a confused fan.
Pick one.
He just likes red and white, doesn't he? I think. And old and new, they removed the only title they had over the years. Breaking down barriers, the traditionalists may not like it, but it's assistant referee got every call right today. Ultimately, it's about whether you can do the job. It shouldn't make a difference if someone's ginger right. Great stuff from Ted there. Ted Flanagan, that is.
Blame me. Yeah, make me unpopular for all the
Peter Shilton couldn't get away with wishing his wife happy birthday on X when some little guy replies, "Wish you were punching that high when Maradona was next to you." Which is brilliant. Me top two. No, I had a top four actually. So the first one is this from Paul Trainer. I have to be careful how I word this, as Facebook bots took my last post down. I'd like to watch a game of football at 3 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon, but we require the adapter for the HDMI port, as well as the service that accompanies it. Recommendations would be appreciated.
Beautifully worded. Hey, Paul could get a gig on this show with word like that. That's tremendous. That.
Yep.
This one was good as well. Jake Paul and Wayne Rooney, the only two 27-year-olds to go 18 minutes with a pensioner. Allegedly, well done. Number 3. See, I was setting you up earlier for that one.
Very good.
This one, Jamie O'Hara. What's the point in having an academy if when you need to call on the young players you've developed for years are deemed not good enough? The whole point is to wait for an opportunity to arise, but instead they want games called off. Joe replies, you buy better players if they're not good enough. I'll give you an example. In 2003, Arsenal had a player called Jamie O'Hara in their academy. They decided he was crap and bought Cesc Fabregas instead.
Stinger.
I mean,
absolute stinger, that like.
And I love this one. This is me winner this week about England's best manager, unbeaten. Football away days, brilliant stuff. I will never forget that Sam Allardyce went to Leeds, told the world he was better than Pep, Klopp and Arteta, picked up 1 point from 12 available, conceded 11 goals, oversaw a relegation, got 500,000 whacked into his current account and rode off into the sunset. Incredible.
He's still better than Steve Bruce.
Classic. So that is it. If you've got any tweets for Trolls of the Week, get them over to me, Ted, or Rye on our socials, and we'll feature them next week.
I'm sorry, I was just lost looking at the cat. Class, I love it, mate. Where's Jules at? Normally she's all over this one. Yes, well, cracking on, I suppose. We've got the Sunderland game as well this afternoon. Away at Millwall, exactly how you want to kind of come back after an international break. The only good thing about that is there's no international football until March the 17th next year. Thank God for that, honestly. Do you know what? I don't even know how England got on. I didn't watch any of the international stuff at all. How did they get on?
Smack Greece.
Did they?
Yep, big time. Yep. Lee Carsley's last game finally got it right, and now he's off. But last game for Lee Carsley, Thomas Tuchel going to take over. I thought it was good. After 8 England players pulled out, obviously being friendlies. I mean, that was a bit of a slap in the face, but it just shows you the rigmarole, and I think we spoke about this last week, didn't we? The rigmarole of international football is that, we've got players that are just playing so much football now. They are literally playing so more football than they ever have. And the game's faster than ever. The game's flowing, moving up and down the pitch quicker. We've got, speed seems to be the key weapon for most teams in their attack and coming back in defense. And I think, look, you've got a lot of players playing a lot of football now. And now they're introducing the Club World Cup or whatever it is, in this summer break. So it's just ridiculous. And now you've got, and I think sadly, when it comes to international breaks and it's going to be friendlies, I think you're going to see more and more players pulling out. I mean, unless it is for a World Cup qualifier, a Euro qualifier, or something of importance, playing 2 friendlies, I think it's going to be more on the clubs and the players and especially the clubs who are paying their wages. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. The club is the ones that bought the player and they pay their wages and they put them up and all this sort of stuff. If they are, have an irkling of a sore hamstring, a tight, whatever it may be, and there's a risk of them going and getting injured in a friendly against Greece, then of course you're going to pull them out because your club football's is what you need them for. And look what's happened to Middlesbrough. We've lost Hayden Hackney and Aidan Morris in the space of 2 weeks. And if we now go on a run of losing games, is that the linchpin that's hurt us? So it's getting a bit ridiculous for me. And I don't get I think we really, really need to seriously take a look at the fixturing of international friendlies. I think they need to be scrapped. But I think obviously your World Cup qualifiers, your Euro qualifiers for you guys in Europe and all that sort of stuff, I think completely, and I agree. I think they still there needs to be a time and place for them. But when you put 2 friendlies in the middle of November, I don't know what you're expecting when 8 or 9 players pull out of the current team. Do you know what I mean? I don't blame them at all. And I don't blame the clubs that did it as well. And look, it gave players like Morgan Rogers, a chance. It gave a couple of other youngsters a chance to step up into England. There's plenty more down the list. Do you know what I mean? That probably wouldn't be there if it was a World Cup, whatever it may be. And Harry Kane had a bit of a dig, didn't he? Which was a bit interesting as well. I thought Harry Kane coming out and saying it wasn't good enough of the 8 players or so that pulled out. But we all remember Harry Kane. We haven't got short-term memory loss, mate. We know when you've pulled out of plenty of an international game because you were too sore or whatever it may be. So I didn't think it was fair on Harry either to come out and slate the other players that chose to not come out. And who knows if it was their decision. It could have been right. It probably was. Decision was made above their head as well. So yeah, look, internationally, 2 weeks was good for Australia. We had a couple of draws there, quite boring, but it helped our World Cup spots. But you guys are smacked 2 games in 2 friendlies, but without 8 or 9 of probably your first team starters.
Fair play. It's over now, and to be honest, I was glad to get to the international break on the current form that Sunderland were going through. 2-0 up and coasting against Coventry City. And then, the 2-2 draw felt like a bit of a defeat, that one. But listen, it's happened now. I think the rest of them is good, but we have major, major problems in the fact that when we sold Jack Clark, we kind of knew that, all right, Mundell's really going to have to step up. And most would argue that he has. I think he's equipped himself very, very well, playing regular football, being a constant menace to the point that teams are double marking him with Jack Clark, which I think that's the ultimate compliment as to how you're getting on in playing regular football. But he's going to be sidelined for 6 to 8 weeks with a hamstring injury now. And just to throw a complete spanner in the works, Alan Brown is also going to be out 6 to 8 weeks with a fracture as well, which is absolutely just the worst timing, to be honest, when we're trying to turn things around. But Rye, you think this is going to be the wheels coming off for Sunderland? Do you really?
Yeah, look, I really do. I'm trying to keep it, I'm trying not to be mean and obviously come. But I listen.
Trying not to.
We've all been sitting here surprised with Sunderland's start to this season. We have where they've come from after what you finished. The way you finished last season to the start of this season made no sense to completely anyone. But that's Championship football, right? You got a great new manager who's come in. He refreshed the ideas. You lost Jack Clark. You lost a couple of other. You lost that midfielder, the French one. I mean, you lost a few. Decent, probably first team players. And yet you've blown the league away, and it's been incredible. But I think the Bucks got to stop somewhere my honest opinion was when you get a few injuries, what's that Sunderland squad going to look like? And I was trying to be as kind as I could, but now the reliance on Watson for Mundell. You've also got the thing that scares me as well with Sunderland is you've also got, correct me if I'm wrong, Try Hume, Joe Bellingham, and Dennis Serkin all very, very, I think 1 or 2 yellow cards away from all getting banned, plus no Romain Mundell. Reliance on Isidore potentially, but Isidore I believe is injured as well. I mean, is he not? I mean, okay, so you got so you got Watson. Then it's starting. The warning signs are starting to flow a little bit, and you've seen in the past 2 results as well that teams, Carrick had it as well. When Carrick came in, the first 10 or so games, no one could figure out the way Carrick was playing football, and we were dominating because it's all new. It's hard to go as a research and research a previous manager when you don't know what they've done. Same with Reggie. With Regis Labrie, you don't know how he was going to play football. You don't have any evidence of what he's done, what he's going to set up, where he's going to play. That is now over. That honeymoon period is now over. That teams have figured it out. You've seen it with Coventry. You've seen it that unless he can now take you to another level, which he's going to need to do with, some substitutes, I really do think you're up for a tough period now. And I said it in a podcast the other night. I think Sunderland's next month is really going to test you. With the injuries you've got, Romain Mundell is a massive, massive loss.
2 months now.
And this is where we find out the real teams in the championship with squad depth, because the championship, you have a look, the previous teams that have all gone up and blown us away, Ted, have all had very, very deep pockets, but also very deep squads. Yeah. And Middlesbrough, I think we're struggling with deep pockets and deep strength in the squad. But I think Sunderland are much alike, unless you can find the next Joe Bellingham, the next Romain Mundell. But the list has got to stop somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Where in terms of having to play new players and youngsters, and I think your yellow card, the bans. If you lose, I mean, there's a chance you're going to lose Hume, Serkin, and Bellingham all all at the same time, sort of thing, right when you don't need them. So. Yeah, I'm worried for Sunderland. I am. I really am. And I think today's going to be a very tough test. Millwall are no pushovers.
No, absolutely not. I guess it's the wide positions that are a bit of a struggle. Obviously, Tommy Watson will probably come in today, playing off the left, which is where he should be playing from, not on the right as he did in his full debut the other week. So Tommy Watson's one of those, and he's an unknown quantity in the championship as well. Yep. We know from the under-21s he's a very, very useful young player. He looks like he's developing well. So he might just surprise a few people. Of course, you've got Wilson Isidore who can play out on the left as well. But when we've seen that happen during games, he hasn't been anywhere near as effective. And no. At the minute, my end is back from injury now, but we haven't got another striker who can actually fit in there and bang the goals in. So that is a bit of a concern. Big Night just made a very, very good point in there with Brown's injury. Obviously, there's the fact Tom Dixon mentioned it earlier on. Dortmund, very, very close. There is a possibility that they could put in a bid for Job in the winter transfer window. Yeah. Which makes a Jordan Henderson reappearance in the Sunderland shirt probably even more likely.
Very true.
I would love to see it, to be honest. I think even if it wasn't from a playing aspect, I think to have somebody of that stature who's won what he's won, and that those leadership qualities he's got, I think would be a fantastic asset to have in the dressing room. But certainly to see us through a little bit of a stopgap, and come in and shore up a couple of injuries, and possibly, like I say, if Job does go to Dortmund or wherever, whoever's willing to pay that money for him, then that could also happen as well. But today, Anthony Patterson's back between the sticks, which is great for us. Not that Simon Moore did anything wrong in the games that he deputised for. I thought he equipped himself very well. It was nice to have an experienced guy at the back as well. He's well into his 30s. We're not used to having that. So yeah, him and Chris Mepham and Luke O'Nien, that sort of that back three, if you like, in the centre, it kind of developed a good understanding. But Pato is number one. He's number one for a reason. He pulls out saves that are just impossible at times. so great to have him back. It's going to be a little bit of a, I think it will be a bit of a reshuffle because Regis Labrise has mentioned that, they've taken this time in the international break to go and study, the progress they've made and what they need to change and how they need to develop next. He's a guy, I totally get what you're saying, right? But I just think Regis has got a plan. And I kind of, for the first time in a long time, I've got faith in the manager. And I honestly don't think
that's big.
Yeah, it is. For a Sunderland fan, we're not used to it. We're used to something, more than our boxer shorts.
Having the plan B is incredible. Yeah.
Well, that's it. And I think he will, he might just have an ace up his sleeve, maybe just change the style of play a little bit, make us a little bit more difficult to break down. And might not be as pretty as what it has been, but that's what you need to do. So I think we'll go to Millwall today. Yes, a little bit nervy because of the injuries that we've got to very, very key players, but I don't think we've got anything to be afraid of. I think there's enough in the squad to put the likes of Millwall to bed. So I'm going to kick off because with our predictions, because we haven't had any so far yet. I'm going to go with, I'm actually going to be very, very brave. I'm going to stick my head out and I'm going to say 2-0 win for Sunderland today. Steve,
okay.
what do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, I've listened to both of you talk there about, the run that Sunderland's found themselves on. Rye thinking that you've been found out, sussed out. I don't really see that. I think it's as the international break came at the wrong time for Newcastle, I think it's probably coming at a good time for Sunderland. You get that opportunity to reset. I think the transfer window is hanging over you. We've already seen one person in the chat asking, I think it was Tom Dixon, asking if you're worried about losing Bellingham in January. That's probably the one thing that could, derail Sunderland a little bit. I hadn't heard about the Henderson story. That's an interesting one. Although, it didn't quite work out when Defoe came back. You would imagine Henderson in the Championship is going to be a bit different, though. It's a different position to play. Holding
Sunderland
midfield
as well, which it does make a difference. That
I 100% agree. But yeah, look, I don't think Labrise has been found out yet. I think next season could be a different matter if you found yourself in the Championship still. But yeah, I genuinely think that there's an opportunity there for Sunderland to progress and beat Millwall. I don't think it's going to be pretty. Is there a game that Millwall are involved in that is? I'm going to go for a very sensible, I think, 2-1 win as well for Sunderland. I think Sunderland will win. I think they'll get themselves back to winning ways. 2-1 win for Sunderland.
Now, a big part of me wants to say Sunderland are going to win because then all three of us will pick Sunderland and then we know that Millwall will win. So, but I can't do it. I'm going to be straightforward. I'm going to be honest. I think Millwall are going to win this one in a scrappy 1-0 affair. The weather's going to play in a big part, but Millwall are no pushovers. I mean, and you know what? Funny enough, Millwall is half Middlesbrough, by the way, as well. Joshy Coburn, George Seville, Duncan Watmore. They've got half the ex-Borough squad down there now as well.
Watmore was at Sunderland longer than he was at Borough.
Yeah, but look, he walked back to our bench on day one. He didn't walk back to your bench. Do you know what I mean? So look, it's gonna be a scrappy affair. I think the weather's gonna play havoc for all the games today. We've seen it up and down the countryside. It's wet. It's gloomy. It's freezing. It's gonna be not the best football, and Millwall don't come to play the prettiest football. They come in to push you over, to hit, nip at your ankles and get whatever they can, sort of thing. But I think you're going to, you're going to find yourself 1-0 win to Millwall today.
There we go. So, Steve, obviously Monday night, we've got to wait for this one. I'll kick you off with my prediction for this one. I actually do think it's going to be easy. And as much as you were talking with the lads last night on the other show, I think it's going to be 3-0 Newcastle. I honestly can't see West Ham offering much at all. I think Kudus is still... I love saying his name because it sounds like you've just dropped a joke on the drum kit. Kudus. I'm just addicted to saying his name. Even when I play FIFA now, I pass the ball to him on purpose just to hear it. Kudus. Anyway, child, I'm 45.
Brilliant.
3-0 Newcastle. I can't see West Ham bothering you at all, Steve. I know you're going a little bit more conservative. Are you still sticking with the same?
No, I'm sticking with 2-1, mate. Yeah, I mean, I hope you're right. I hope the lads are right who seem to be thinking we're going to get goals galore. But it's interesting, Rai points out the weather. The weather could play its part as well. You know, different players respond to different temperatures and stuff. You know, some people are up for it, other people aren't. But yeah, I still think we'll win. I'm positive about a win. Yeah, 2-1 is what I'm going for on that. 2-1 to Newcastle, 2-1 to Sunderland.
Right.
Yeah, I've got to go a 2-0 win for Newcastle. I think you're going to see exactly what you saw against Nottingham Forest. I think the first half, you're going to see a very, very defensive West Ham sitting back as Newcastle pass it around that 18-yard box out to, through Bruno and all that. So what we saw in Nottingham Forest, the first 45 minutes was literally all Newcastle, yet Nottingham Forest were just sitting there and defending for their lives. I think you're going to see that again. And then in the second half, it's just going to become too much to hold on to for West Ham. They'll let their heads down. And I think you'll see a goal or two from Newcastle. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Newcastle win, and they're going to score the 2 goals in the second half.
And finally, the Borough heading to Oxford. Like I said, the only time you'll ever get a Borough lad anywhere near Oxford University.
Yes, rocket scientists.
Yeah, I'll kick you off with this one. Oxford are a funny team. They didn't play well at all at the Stadium of Light, but they do not travel well. Their form, if they're going to survive in this league, is going to be at home.
It's home, yeah.
And I just feel this is... Listen, Borough on fantastic form. They absolutely destroyed Luton. And I mean destroyed Luton. I just think this is a bit of a weird one with the injuries in midfield, with that international break. This is going to be a typical Borough performance of kind of going, well, we start all over again. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Steve?
Yeah.
2-1 to Borough. I'm going for 3-2-1. 3-2-1 wins this week. I do feel we'll have one of those rare weekends where we all get a win and we're all very happy. 2-1 to Borough as well, mate.
It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game. And I'm not shirking away from that. I am very, very interested to see what Borough turns up today, because we don't know. The weather's yuck. The stadium is half a stadium. There's 3 seats in it. You know what I mean? And there's one side's a car park. So you're going to have a wind block. We've got no Aidan Morris. We've got no Millwall's going to win 8-0. And we're still going to see, we're still going to see what the likes without Aidan Morris, without Hayden Hackney is. You know what I mean? And there is rumours, by the way, Borough fans, breaking news right here on Three's a Crowd podcast. Senny Dieng, our number 1 goalkeeper, it's his birthday today, reportedly ill. Might not make the trip. Breaking news for you, those here on the Three's a Crowd. Yeah, well, our number 1 goalkeeper, Senny Dieng, though, might be out ill today. So stay tuned for that one, Borough fans, on all the socials. But yeah, breaking news here on Three's a Crowd is that Senny Dieng might be out ill. So look, it's you throw all that into the mix, Ted, and it's going to be tough, mate. It's going to be tough. So I'm going to go 4-0 to the Borough.
I love it. God, never change, mate. Never change. We've never got time to do the musical feature, lads. I'm going to keep that one dry for next time. But as we're coming to the end, just keep an eye on our socials. We'll have a chat off air, right?
Okay, my bad.
About what we're going to do with adopting the team and getting kits out there and trying to at least help a Sunday league or a pub team out there. But yeah, we've hit the end of the show, lads. That's absolutely flown over, hasn't it?
It has,
Who's
yeah.
Great show next week.
Rise next week, is it? Yeah.
Yep, mine. Yep, it is me, baby.
And you're kind of you're gallivanting across Central Europe, aren't you, Steve?
Yeah.
I'll hopefully everything will be fine next week, lads, and I will be in Bulgaria, broadcasting from there. So Rise going to set the show up, and I will be broadcasting from Bulgaria, where I'm away for a talking. I'm working in Bulgaria, so looking forward to that, and hopefully a little bit warmer.
It's also the name of an adult film based on the Wombles was in Bulgaria. Anyway, so that's the end of the show.
Till next week. See you, lads.
See you, lads.
See you, lads.
Three's a Crowd podcast will return. That's not a threat. It's a promise.